Hi. Today, let's talk about hypothetically the logistics around the setting up peer review structures. Self-regulation, they say, because they realize that the Constitution will never allow them to regulate us. They are setting us up for confusion. We'll have to change the South African Constitution for anybody to force me to belong to an organization before I can practice what I believe in. That's a given. Because the Constitution gives me freedom of association, freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, freedom of belief and conviction. Now that I don't have to find anybody else who believes in that before I can practice that. So they realized when they went to their portfolio committee in Parliament that they could not do that, but they won't give up. So they come back to us and said, okay, fine, now regulate yourself. But they don't realize that there is a reason after so many years of religion on the African continent, we still cannot regulate ourselves. Don't believe any fool who says whites brought the gospel to Africa. Then they don't know history. Because we trace our Christian faith from as early as the book of Acts there, when the Ethiopian eunuch met Philip, the evangelist, and he baptized him and he brought Christianity to Ethiopia there. And if you read the Bible well, Acts chapter 8, Christianity was on Africa long before it was in Europe, if you're a reader of the Bible. Because you realize that happened in Acts chapter 8, and Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, only surrendered his life to the Lord in Acts chapter 9. And the gospel only went to Europe, the first European to receive the gospel, and he caused quite a consternation, was a guy called Cornelius in Acts chapter 10. So Africans embraced the gospel, and after the eunuch of Candace received the gospel, there was no outcry. The apostles did not find it anything funny that the gospel was on Africa and among Africans, but they objected when the gospel went to Europe. So let's not go there. So the gospel has been on Africa for 2,000 years. And there is a reason why everybody believes what they believe in, even though our faith has been on the continent for 2,000 years. Now, we have the Church of Ethiopia. We have a lot of other African missions. But let me go back to explain to you why you don't fix anything that's not broken. We have already established that there is a criminal element across society. I said to you the first time, if I see a man hijack a car there and I apprehend him, and before the cops decide what to do with him, they ask him what his nationality and personal belief is, and before we can prosecute him, we have to regulate that belief, then there's something wrong with how we see the law. All are equal before the law. You rape not because you're Christian, you rape not because you're Muslim, you rape not because you're Hindu. You rape because you're a rapist. That's simple as that. So let's put it aside. When you take the criminal element out of the church, what you are left with is liturgy. What you're left with is creed. What you're left with is religion. And our religion has been in Africa for more than almost 2,000 years. And the reason there are Baptists, there are Methodists, there are Lutherans, there are Anglicans, and there are African indigenous churches. Even among the African indigenous churches, there are different sects. The reason that is that what we believe in cannot be regulated. But then, praise God, the Constitution covers us in that regard. Now, I sit here, and I'm an ancestral worshipper. And I hear my ancestors tell me to go to initiation school to be a traditional healer. That's a very subjective process, don't you think so? Because then who is going to verify if the ancestors did speak to me or not? Do the ancestors have to confirm with somebody else that they have truly called me, or is it just a subjective process? Freeze that moment. I don't believe in ancestral worship. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm sitting at home and I hear God call me. In the same way, the ancestral worshiper hear his ancestors tell him to go to initiation school. I hear God tell me to go to Bible college. And that Bible college is not even regulated. Some of the guys, by the way, let's not go there. Some of the guys set up by government to regulate us. Their own Bible colleges are not even accredited by SACA, but let's not go into them because they have a constitutional right to do so. So at that point, what do? Do I go to men appointed by government to verify my call? Freeze that moment. Let's go back to the ancestral worshiper. Who do they go to? They obviously go to somebody who's going to initiate them, who shares in the conviction. But the person who's going to initiate them has personal interest in it. You know, people pay for initiation. You can't just be a traditional leader for nothing. You pay there. But now, on the other side, I also go to people I trust in, people in my circles, people who affirm me and accredit me to do what I do. That process, you can never be subjected to peer review. Let me tell you why. Let's go to the Old Testament. Belief in the Old Testament, from Genesis to Malachi, produced the world's three greatest religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Muslims and Christians and Jews went to the same book and came up with three different religious systems. And now, let's go to the Christian faith itself. Genesis to Revelation. There are Pentecostal charismatics. There are indigenous churches. There are Jehovah's Witnesses. There are Mormons. There is the ZCC. There is the IPACC. There is the Nazarene Church, Shemba, from the same scriptures. Now, belief takes place in a personal space. It works itself out in a personal space. And in that regard, it can never be regulated. I don't know how, if the concern is a criminal element, does the government think Pastor Rimeko is going to deal with rapists in the church? He's not a cop. If the government is concerned about people eating dog meat and snake meat and all that, I don't know how they're going to get Reverend Makulu to intervene that guy, because he's not a dietitian, he's not a medical doctor, he's not a scientist. How is he going to prove that dog meat is bad for church people? Those practices take place within the personal space. The other time, when I was working for emergency services many years ago, I went to Lenesia, which is not far from Soweto, during the celebration for the Hindus. I saw shocking stuff there. People swallow fireballs. Hey, that's dangerous. They walk on fire there. I saw these guys pierce themselves with salt and they never had them. How are you going to regulate that? Are they committing any crime? If somebody gets injured trying to pierce themselves with, so what crime have they committed? Are you going to arrest the Hindu priest? Or what are you going to do? But most of that is subjective. All of it is subjective. I've gone to a circus and I've spent some time looking at how they've tamed those lions and all that. There's a lot of hypnosis there. The same hypnosis we see in magician sessions. They hypnotize people. They put people to sleep there. Now, let's freeze that moment. Somebody who's not even, according to us, man of God, who's not even a genuine man of God, puts people to sleep and is using hypnosis. What law have they contravened? Don't fix anything that is not broken. Uproot only criminal element within source. I'm not going to say uproot criminal element within the church, because that's discrimination. That language is discriminating. That language is hate speech. Because the religion and the culture of whoever commits a crime is non-essential. Once you have done that, leave the church, leave Islam, leave Judaism, leave Hinduism to manage themselves. Because, as I highlighted to you yesterday, the problems that arise within each belief can only be sorted out by people who share the same belief. The Shembe Church, they go to court because they have to decide, according to their own constitution, who the next leader is going to be. Doesn't that tell you that there is compliance to the law? If we venture into a court space and we have a constitution and the court helps us interpret it, what more regulation do you want? I'm saying civilly, the churches are covered, and criminally they are covered. The only area that cannot be covered is personal belief. Leave it where it is before you cause chaos. We will not be regulated because this regulation itself cannot be forced down our throat. Stick to governance and leave religion alone. And as for these men, so-called men of God, who have promised the serial connection, miracles, come, wake up and come to reality. You yourself don't even have credibility within your own sects. Right now, we are divided. We read the same Bible. We are divided over issues of should a preacher be allowed to continue preaching when he divorces and marries another woman? Should a preacher be allowed to preach when he marries many women? Should a preacher be allowed when he sleeps with women in the church? Should preachers... We are divided. And some of the people appointed don't even have credibility within their own sects. I speak in tongues. I've been speaking tongues for almost 40 years. The Baptists think it's pure madness because they think the days of tongues ended in the book of Acts. I prophesy. I was prophesied last night. I believe in dreams. I believe in visions because that's my personal conviction. Now, when I sit on the peer review committee and somebody comes out for licensing, I'm going to ask them, do you believe that God speaks? If they say no, because they had talk, I'll never give them their license. Isn't that an infringement on their personal belief? But then, some peer review structure in KwaZulu-Natal believes that even though you believe in Jesus Christ, you still speak to ancestors. So, they have before them a man who says, no, ancestral spirits don't exist. Only Jesus mediates between man and God. Let them sit before the peer review and ask for a license. The first question that the chairman of the peer review structure in Natal, and so I'm just using the hypothetical, will ask them is, do you believe in ancestral worship? And the guy says no, they find him irrelevant, they don't license him. Stop interfering with this. It can never be regulated. There is a reason why almost 2,000 years down the line, we have still been not successfully regulated. Leave us be. Let us be. Stick to issues of the law. Stick to issues of governance. And let the church be. I think I'm done. I'm driving to Paqua now.